Last week's conversation, I brought you that story that Pastor Adeboye told. I'm talking about Pastor Enoch Adeboye, the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. He was tweeting about how to handle sexual tension in the workplace, right? And like I told you last week, the title of his sermon was Crush That Crush. Crush That Crush. I was very intrigued by the comments last week. It was that the sermon he gave. The topic was really for married people. He was advising them not to allow friendships or work relationships with people of the opposite sex get too close or too emotional, because now from clap dance they start, abi. Friendships lead to crushes, which could lead to something more, and he focused on workplace crushes. But all of that is neither here nor there, really. That advice is not specific to any gender. But then he tweeted something that a lot of people decided to talk about. He tweeted something that made us all talk about it. He tweeted, quote, "One of my sons once told me that he was always excited to resume in the office every Monday because he would get to see his secretary again. I told him to fire her immediately. Nothing and no one is worth your marriage." Let me read that again. One of my sons once told me that he was always excited to resume in the office every Monday because he would get to see his secretary again. I told him to fire her immediately. Nothing and no one is worth your marriage. And so we had a very interesting debate about that tweet here on the glass ceiling. Some callers said that the advice was perfectly fine. This caller called in and said something particularly interesting. That conversation, I keep playing it over and over in my head, and I want to play that conversation for you again so that you hear what he said last week Wednesday.
People can call on radio station and say stuff because talk is cheap. First off, I don't go to church. I'm not going to talk because he's a man of God. But would people have rather liked to hear that the GO son had an affair with the secretary, and they're now calling for sack her? Why should he have an affair? How should he have an affair with his secretary?
But why should he have an affair with his secretary?
That is it. That is man for you.
No, that's not man for... You're a man. Do you have self-control, Chukwuemeka?
Yes, I do.
You do? So why...
Yes, I do.
So why are you saying of other men that they don't have self-control?
Everybody can never be the same.
I see.
Excuse me. In the Bible, there are men of God that fell for temptation.
I see. But this particular person, this particular woman, was not tempting her boss. She was minding her business. Why should she be sacked?
Yes. See, in life, sometimes there are things that life throws to us that is very, very unfair.
So, Chukwuemeka, the only two options are have affair with the secretary or sack the secretary. Those are the only two options. There's nothing else that boss could have done.
See, in fact, I didn't like it that it was coming from his father. His senses should have told him to do that earlier on.
His senses should have told him to fire his secretary.
To fire the secretary immediately.
Because he had feelings for his secretary.
Yes. I have seen a woman who had an affair with her driver rather. Then, because she wanted to conceal it so that the husband would not find out, she had to fire the driver and settle him. Please go far away from me. True life story. I didn't read it in the paper or saw it on TV. True life story.
Chukwuemeka, are you married?
Are you married? I am not. Okay. I am not.
Do you have a girlfriend?
Yes, I have.
Now, your girlfriend's boss fires her because she finds her attractive. You be okay with that?
Very, very okay.
Your sister's boss fires her because he's attracted to her.
Even if it is my mother's boss.
You'll be... Even if it is my mother's boss, fire her, Chukwemeka said last week. Quite the opinion there, quite the statement there. Now, I had so many other ones as well here on the glass ceiling. A lot of callers, said that the advice was perfectly fine. A lot of other callers said that it was wrong to fire the woman, to fire the subordinate instead of requiring the man, the boss, to control himself. People raised the issue of professional conduct. Some people asked, is it not better for him to sack her? What if he acts on his feelings and he later gets accused of sexual harassment? Others answered, but are we saying that the only choices are sacking her or sexually harassing her? Are we saying that men are animals or children who cannot control their urges? And then you had other people who pointed out last week that in the corporate world, it is not proper to fire a staff member without cause. That also sparked a debate, both here and online. So, quite the conversation. So many people wanted to get in on it. They couldn't. That's why we're bringing it back. Now, the whole time that we were talking last week, there was another scenario in my head. And the more we talked, the more I kept thinking about it. But we didn't have enough time to get into it last week. So I decided, you know what, let's talk about it this week. Because here's the thing about the glass ceiling. We're talking about the invisible barriers that hold women back in the workplace, at home, in the society in general. We're talking about obstacles as a whole placed on women, right? We're talking about about the obstacles that the society as a whole places on women. And when we say society, we don't mean men only. Women are also part of society. And in some situations, there are things that some women do that create an invisible barrier for some other women. Let me tell you this story. While this conversation was going on here on the show last week, my followers on Twitter were also debating it. And some of them were men, and some of them were women. And 3 of the married women on my timeline, 3, all said the same thing. They said, if it were my husband, I would want him to fire that secretary too. They said, if it were my husband, I would want him to fire that secretary too. And this sparked another debate, another angle to the debate. And it was interesting to me because I had been thinking about that the whole time. I was thinking, I wonder what married women have to say about this. Because all of last week, it was only men who called in. Women did not call in, so I did not get to hear their thoughts. Now, here were some married women saying, if it were my husband, I would want him to fire his secretary too. And it didn't stop there. Married women talking about this situation started adding more scenarios. For example, many of them said they refuse to hire female domestic staff who are physically attractive, in their opinion, because they don't want their husband to be tempted. No, I can't bring a house help that is my husband's spec into my household. And when I asked them why would you want your husband to sack that secretary? Why would you not hire that housekeeper? Most of them gave me the same answer: better to be safe than sorry. I cannot jeopardize my marriage. I have to keep my home. So, Omo, I say make I bring this matter on your side, though. Let's talk about the different roles women play in the way, as a society, we resolve or prevent sexual situations in the workplace. Just like last Wednesday, you are my guest. You are the expert. You know why? You are the one experiencing this every day. You are the woman whose boss may sack because you make his heart beat fast. You are the boss who may sack your secretary because your heart is beating fast and your wife has told you she gotta go. You are the woman telling your husband to sack his secretary. You are the pastor. So let me hear from you. How often does this happen? In your opinion or in your experience, how often are women the ones telling their husbands to fire an employee because they are concerned about an attraction? How often are married women refusing to hire women in their homes whom they are worried their husbands may be attracted to? I expect more women to call in today. Come and tell Lagos, Lagos what you normally tell yourselves. I really want to hear. 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and 012773993. I expect more women. I cannot wait until our phone lines are fixed so that I can, begin to screen and pick the calls of more women, and we can go back to our special line for women. But for right now, I don't know who's calling what. So keep the calls coming in. 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and 012773993. If you're female and you cannot get across through the phone lines, leave me a message on Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3, or leave a message via WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080 959 75805. How often does this happen? In your experience, how often are women the ones telling their husbands to fire an employee because they are concerned about an attraction? How often are married women refusing to hire women in their homes whom they are worried their husbands may be attracted to? Hello, good evening. 99.3. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
My name is Toyin.
Tony, welcome. Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, well, another dimension to your discussion about what Pastor Adeboye said.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're saying why should women not allow their maybe employ maid, from different experience. I witnessed a particular one.
Okay.
This person is a very popular man. He's late now, though.
Okay.
But very, very, when I say popular, he's a very popular man for my place. And the wife has a maid. The wife is like a big auntie to us in those days, very big auntie. The wife has a maid, and she's the type that travel a lot. In those days, very few people travel abroad in my place, but because the well-to-do man, she travel a lot. So the maid is always the one at home, taking care of the children. And along the line, something happened. The husband fell in love with the maid somehow and impregnated the maid. And that was the end of that marriage. The husband chose the maid, and she packed out of the house, took her children to London, and since they left the maid, and from that pregnancy, she had 4 children for the man, the very popular man. And what am I saying? You can't, when you want to, there is a saying that you can't keep a yam with a goat in the same room. Because what do you expect? The goat will eat the yam. We already know that men, they have this thing. There is nothing we can do. That is the goat or vegetable, whatever you keep, their nature. That is there. So why you should know, and you.
Oh, quite unfortunately, the connection to Tony is breaking up. But Tony says, men are like goats and women are like yams or vegetables. And therefore, you keep a goat with a yam, the goat is going to eat the yam because his natural instincts will take over, And I'm wondering if you agree with that. Remember that the question is, how often does it happen that women are the ones saying, don't employ that woman because she's too attractive, or don't employ that woman because she's your spec, don't employ that domestic help because she's this or she's that? How often are women the one telling their husbands to fire an employee because they are concerned that their husband will be attracted to them? Hello.
Hello?
Yes, thanks for calling.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. What's your name?
All right. Thank God I go through. My name is Steven, calling from VI.
Steven, welcome. Go ahead.
All right. I'm a married man.
Okay.
I have my wife, kid sister who lives with us.
Okay.
She's about 17, 18.
Okay.
Last week, when this was discussed on radio, I got home, I brought it up with my wife.
Okay.
I attend reading. We attend reading.
Okay.
My wife is a worker.
Okay.
When I brought this up, sentiment, she didn't want to agree. I told her, why should the buck stop at women? Why are women treated like this? You are a woman. Why are you taking side? Why would you, a man who could not control himself, then you take the blame now, you take it to the woman, that my friend, a man should go and, the men should control themselves. Okay, how would you feel? My inability to control my sexual urge. I will not then, start having advances on your kid's sister. Eh? How would you feel? Listen, okay, would you not send your sister away, or you should quarrel with me because your sister is directly involved? Listen, I have to discipline myself no matter what. If I see this young girl, maybe she's coming from the bathroom, she's not well, it's either I talk to her or I talk to my wife. Let this girl to be covering up properly now. Man, you have to discipline yourself. Why are women being treated in the offices? You see men and a woman, they were employed the same day, growing, and at the end you see the women falling off and the men, they are rising. Why? God, listen, in the Bible, we are all created equal. In the eyes of God, we are all equal. Why are we treating the women? My wife, no. I treat her so specially. Why are we, men, inability to control your sexual urge? And the woman she will be the one to be blamed? Although at the beginning, my wife, she didn't agree with me, but later, because all this is coming from our GO. I said, GO is first of all, he's a human being before he became our spiritual father. Don't deny that fact. He's a human being. We read this Bible. Do you know, if I'm in the church, there are certain things pastors say, I will go and do research on my own. It's left for me to agree or not to agree. So it's because it's coming from Gio now. So Gio now is not a second God. Everything he says now, I have to talk to her even till midnight before we fell asleep. I kept she agreed with me in a way, but because it's from Gio, so that is just it.
All right, Steve.
Women, why are women treated this way? It is wrong. It is wrong. Men should learn to zip up and control themselves.
Control themselves, Steve says. Kashi on Facebook says, it all depends on the kind of boss. If it was to be me, I'll control myself. If I can't, I will sack her. But it's still not fair for the lady because that might be her only source of income. Sacking her is a bad idea and not a bad idea. But the best option is to sack her so that I don't make my wife heartbroken because it's going to make her feel emotionally down and it is not godly. Instead, I employ a male secretary instead of a female secretary. I cannot jeopardize my family because it's a lifetime thing because I will sack her. But you see how that sentiment disenfranchises women. You see how that sentiment continues to make sure that women can never be as financially secure as men. Because women have to deal with things like this. You see that? Now, Steve is the first married man who has called in. And it's made me want to ask another question to the men. So my first question was for women, right? I was asking women how often they themselves, would not want their husbands to hire an employee that was attractive or have told their husbands to fire an employee that was attractive. How often have women refused to hire help for their house because they are worried that their husband will have sex with the help and give her belly and chase her out of her matrimonial home? How often was this happening? Now, for the married men, if you're a single man, pretend that you're married. Huh? Imagine that you are the one in this scenario. Imagine that you are the owner of your company or that you are the oga in an office and you have a female secretary or personal assistant or some other subordinate with whom you work with very closely. You're in the office together, or you move around Lagos together, or maybe you even travel together, but there is absolutely nothing romantic going on. Nothing inappropriate is happening. Mba. You respect each other's boundaries. You only work closely with her because of the nature of the job. And it turns out that she is excellent at her job. In fact, she is the best that you have ever had working for you. This makes you very happy. It makes you appreciative. You respect and appreciate the work she's putting into the job. In fact, you're not sure that your office could even run smoothly without her. Last September, she took 2 weeks leave and it was chaos. The office was not working. And of course, your wife knows about her. You've not hidden anything from your wife. Every evening you come home from work, you tell her about, your work day. You tell her all the things about your work day. So of course, you tell her about your assistant. Let's call your assistant Bola. So every day, you're saying things like, baby, we almost lost our top customer today, but Bola saved the day. Tomorrow, you tell her, baby, there was an emergency meeting that we didn't know was going to happen with the governor. We didn't even have a presentation ready. Bola saved the day. She just put something together. Next tomorrow is now in the Oxford Dictionary. You tell her, I have to work late tonight, baby. FIRS wants to audit our tax records for the last 10 years. It's a lot of work. Thankfully, Bola is staying with me to help me. Now, don't forget, there's nothing happening between you and Bola. Your relationship is very formal. The nature of the job is the reason that you're always in close contact. And then you come home at 11 in the night and your wife doesn't say anything to you. And then when you're about to fall asleep, your wife says to you, baby, I'm not comfortable with you and this Bola. She needs to go. Now, this is not pastor telling you. This is your wife that you tell about your work day every day about Bola. And you're telling all the time about how excellent Bola is in the workplace. And she wakes you up at 11 saying, baby, Bola has to go. And you swear up and down to your wife that nothing is going on. You explain to her that Bola is just a very good worker. And your baby says to you, listen, Darlington, I don't want to hear that one. She's even your spec. She's yellow like me. We both know you like yellow girls. And now, every small thing, Bola saved the day. Bola saved the day. Let her go and save the day in her husband's company. I don't want again. Now, you know that sacking Bola means letting go of the best hand you have ever had in that office. You also know that the only reason why you interact that much with Bola is the nature of your job. But here is your wife telling you that this is not negotiable. Bola has to go. What do? This is the question I want us to answer now. So anything else you wanted to say to me, just leave it and answer this question. This scenario I painted for you, what do? Do you sack Bola or do you retain her? Do you believe that a wife should have the right to demand that her husband sack a staff member for any reason? What are you going to do if this situation presents itself for you? Will you sack Bola? Will you retain Bola? Do you believe that a wife should have the right to demand that her husband sack a staff member for any reason? 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. You're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. If you just joined us, welcome. We're having a conversation that we started last week about women who have had to face termination of their employment because their bosses may feel an attraction to them. I told you what Pastor Adeboye said last week. And I also told you that some women last week agreed with him and said, if it was me, I would ask my husband to fire that secretary too. And right now, I've painted you a scenario. And I'm asking the men now only. I want to hear from the men. That scenario I painted, would you sack Bola or would you retain her? Do you believe your wife should have the right to demand that her husband sack a staff member for any reason? 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 2993, and 3993.
This is the Glass Ceiling on Hard Facts. This is the Glass Ceiling on Hard Facts.
I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and I told you to imagine that you own your own company. Imagine that you are the orga in an office. You have a female secretary or a personal assistant or some other subordinate with whom you work very closely. You're in the office together, you move around Lagos together, you even travel together, but there's absolutely nothing romantic going on, nothing inappropriate. You respect each other's boundaries. You only work closely with her because of the nature of the job. And it turns out that she's excellent at her job. In fact, she's the best you've ever had working for you. And this makes you very happy. It makes you very appreciative. You respect and appreciate the work that she's putting into the job. And in fact, you are not so sure that your office can run smoothly without her. Last September, she took a leave and more everywhere chaos. Everywhere boss, 2 seconds. And of course, your wife knows about her. You've not hidden anything from your wife. Every evening when you come home, you tell your wife all about your work day. So, of course, you tell her about your assistant, whose name is Bola. Every day you're saying, baby, we almost lost our top customer today, but Bola saved the day. Tomorrow you tell her, baby, there was an emergency meeting that we didn't know we didn't know was going to happen with the governor. We didn't even have a presentation ready, but Bola saved the day. She just put something together. Next tomorrow, you also tell her, I have to work late tonight, honey. FIRS wants to audit our tax records for the last 10 years. It's a lot of work. Thankfully, Bola is also staying to help me. And then you come home at 11 in the night, and your wife is not talking to you. But inside the night, she says, baby, I'm uncomfortable with you and Bola. She has to go. And you swear up and down with your father's left, everything. And you explain that Bola is just a very good worker. Nothing is going on. But your wife says to you, honey, I don't want to hear that. She's your spec. She's yellow like me. You like yellow girls. Every small thing, Bola saved the day. Bola saved the day. Let her go and save the day in her husband's company. I don't want again. Now, you know, as the orga, as the owner of your company, that sacking Bola means letting go of the best hand that you have ever had in that office. All the time on Hard Facts, we're talking about how, a lot of Nigerian youth are unemployable. Yeah? So you know that if you sack Bola, it go be. But here's your wife telling you that it's not negotiable. Bola has to go. What do? Will you sack Bola or will you retain her? Do you believe a wife should have the right to demand that her husband sack a staff member for any reason? Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for calling. What's your name?
This my name is Sandra.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Quickly, see, if my wife tells me to sack Bola, and I'm going to reply her that the conversation is bigger than Bola. If you think that your marriage is threatened because of Bola, then there's a bigger conversation. But thankfully, I'm a married man, and I know that the kind of wife I have will never do that, because my wife holds me to the highest type of standard that's available. Okay. And see, I can't even open my mouth to say a girl is threatening me. See, because I don't understand. It's just that Pastor Debo is telling his son to do that. And we're thinking it's a big deal. You know why we're thinking it's a big deal? Because we are equating his being a man of God to being a standard in morality. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, people that you hold standard of morality cannot say such a thing. So it should what is simply telling us is that when it comes to morality, we should not think about him. Because you should not be telling your son to do that. You should sit your son down. If it's a 100 church member, believe me, they'll be saying they want to do deliverance for the person. That the person is having ritual some whatever. Yes, you should sit your son down and tell your son that for no reason if this is the problem, then you have to deal with it, because you are not supposed to be having. Then that means you have a problem with your marriage.
But what do you think about Tony? What do you think about Tony, who called in and said, that it's actually a necessary thing to do, that women shouldn't employ attractive house workers because their husbands could fall in love with the house workers and kick out their wife from the house.
Yeah, Sandra. The foundation of marriages determines these things. Some marriages were quickly put up. They don't have the right foundation. People are scared of what their partners might do because they know truly that their husband probably is someone like that. And they're scared of being out of that marriage because they're scared of what society will say about it. So they're not ready to confront the monster in their marriage. So they would rather blame the outside party for it and let the other outside party pay for what they should be paying for. So if you're scared that your husband is like that, you sit him down and you deal with it. Couples need to deal with their situation, and you don't make another person pay for what you're supposed to pay for. Because that Bola is a third party. She has no business with your marriage, and she should not be paying for the sacrifices. You should be your family. Your husband made a promise to you that he will be faithful to you. Bola should not pay for that. Okay. Your husband is the one that made the vow. It was not, Bola was not there when he was making that vow. And Bola should not be made to pay for it.
Okay. All right. Let's leave it at that. Thank you for calling me. Hello.
Yeah, Sandra.
Welcome. What's your name?
How you doing? My name is Enzo.
Enzo, will you sack Bola or will you retain her?
I will never sack Bola, and I'm not going to respond to my wife.
Okay.
As far as I know, I'm not having anything to do with Bola. If my wife likes, let her run from January 1st to December 31st. I'll never have an argument with her.
But do you believe that there's any reason that is justifiable for a wife to say, fire your staff?
There's no reason. It's none of our business. Let me run my business. And in the first place, if you know your husband cannot control his pinto, what are you doing with him? Why are you married to him? If you know you cannot have a pretty woman as a domestic staff when your husband is around, why are you married to him? That's the problem. You know what? We've reduced men in this part of the world. Like someone called and was trying to make an analogy with goat and yam. That means we've reduced Nigerian men to dogs. Dogs who cannot control themselves whenever they see an opposite sex. Is that bad? If you know your husband cannot control himself, for crying out loud as a woman, stay away from him. Don't marry him. Is it a crime to have a pretty woman as a domestic staff? So you don't trust your husband. Oh, your husband might decide to sleep with her. And you're still married to such man? That's the problem.
But, Samuel Okai on Twitter says that men are conquest beings and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Human beings are conquest beings. We are all polygamous in nature, be it a man and a woman. Cheating is not the exclusive right of men. Women do cheat. So the truth of the matter is, as a woman, if you think your husband cannot control his sexual urge, divorce him.
All right. Divorce him, Enzo says. This raises a very serious issue that we need to talk about. Last year, we had shows where we discussed how marriage itself could sometimes be a glass ceiling. We talked about how married women in the workplace often face difficulties that married men and single women do not have. Just to remind you of some examples, we talked about how, unlike married men who work, married women who work are still expected to take care of the children and the home. So basically, they have to split their time and their energy and their attention between the workplace and the home. And we talked about how this affects their ability to work as much as their colleagues, and it slows down their progress. It's like that caller Steve said, we see men and women start at the same time, but down the line they fall off. And these are some of the reasons why women fall off in the workplace. We also talked about how when a working couple has kids, if they decide that one person must leave the workforce to care for the kids, it's usually the woman. Both because men tend to earn more money and because there is more of an expectation on the woman to take care of the home. And there were lots more examples. You can check our past episodes on our podcast. We have a podcast. It's called The Glass Ceiling Show with Sandra Ezekwesili. Look for it on any of your podcast services and you'll find us there. And you can listen to our previous episodes. But basically, we showed how marriage affects married women in the workplace. But now we're seeing how marriage also affects women who are not in the marriage. Because it's like the caller before Enzo said, Bola is not your wife. She's a single woman minding her business. But suddenly, because her boss's wife, somebody who is not even in the company, has a problem with her, she loses her job. Now imagine that scenario. Imagine that your boss decided to fire you because somebody who doesn't work in your company, somebody who does not work in your company, said he should fire you. Imagine if his elder sister wanted you fired, or his neighbor. All of us would say, that's ridiculous. But because it's a spouse that is calling for the sack, opinions are divided. So I think the fundamental thing is, should spouses who do not work in the office have a say in workplace decisions? Is this not a violation of basic corporate rules? It's a conversation, I think, that goes beyond gender equality. It has to do with the nature of corporate culture and the division between home life and work life. Does your marriage have a place in the office? Does your marriage have a place in the office? I feel like this is a church and state conversation. 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. This is Samuel from Ikoyi on WhatsApp who says that this is a very critical issue. The best thing to do in this scenario is to listen to your wife. I wouldn't blame the wife because we are humans and imperfect. The family is more important than the business. Sandra, I will not sack Bola because she is a cash cow and profit center for me. My wife must see reason if she believes in me. Morgan in Ikorodu says. All right. Well, as far as I'm concerned, Bola is not going anywhere. And that's Femi from Akoka. Good evening, Sandra. My name is Daniel from Okoko. It happened in my workplace. Those Indians that my boss took advantage of, the women working in the factory. This is an entire different conversation, but thank you for raising that up. Somebody says she does not have a right to. You can only advise. Also on WhatsApp, I have a message that says, Sandra, good afternoon. My name is Everest. For me, any woman who wants the husband to sack her female worker is not a good woman. Sacking the woman will not stop the man from cheating. Women want to control. They like control too much. She has no right to do that. Sandra, these pastors most times escalate and aggravate issues to make people feel like bad actions is the way to go. there is a potential circumstance for attraction, and Toyin's example fits some realistic fact that the pastor may be guiding against. But this, by all standard, is not enough to call for the sack of the female secretary. Moreover, female gender are not very persistent by nature. It takes a one-time no for a woman to withdraw from such pursuit. So what is the problem? Men should control themselves, draw the line, but for sack, that's absolutely unnecessary. Okay. Mazin also says that there could be political actors and non-political actors. Now, sometimes the non-political actors are the most influential people, such like the wife of the governor or president. At night in the bedroom, she calls the shot, and the effect is seen in the president's decision-making in the morning. But on this scenario, that of sacking the secretary because my wife wants it, I will not sack her. I will try to make her see reason why the lady should continue, and also give her serious assurance on why I will not cheat. I know her fears, but she should also know that the secretary is not a sacrificial lamb. Also, a wife should be able to tame her husband. If a wife cannot, then she is failing. All right. Let me come back to the phone lines now. Hello.
Hello, Sandra.
Thanks for calling. What's your name?
My name is Samuel.
Samuel.
Go
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sure you've been calling for a while.
Yes. You see, Sandra, Bola will not go anywhere.
Why?
Bola is not going to go anywhere because Bola has nothing to do with my marriage. And for Pastor Adeboye to say that, it means, you know what Jesus Christ said to those people who bring the woman that commit adultery. Jesus Christ said, if you have not sinned before, be the one to first cast the stone. So Pastor Adeboye first cast the stone. It is wrong for someone that does nothing and you say you should fire him. It's wrong. You know, something happened to me some years ago. I can never forget about that. My own brother's wife forcing me to have an affair with her. To the extent that he will not give me food to eat. It is very... So, what should I do? I have to leave the home for them and I find my way.
Okay. Samuel, thanks for calling to share that story. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name?
My name is
Shay, welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I think we are misconstruing what Pastor Adeboye did.
Are we?
If you ask me, yes, because if directed by a woman, already there's a feeling. I run an office. I have more women in my office than guys. And if a man is already falling for a woman, the best thing is to allow the woman to go. It's another thing, when you have a staff that is a female, you don't let her excite you so much, because before you know it, mind you, we're human beings, you may fall. I've had this kind of instance before, where a woman will come to my house, even a married woman, telling me my husband doesn't satisfy me on bed. After that, I had to ask her to go, because I know one day we are going to have an affair, and that thing will continue. So I think let's look at Pastor Adeboye's opinion with different points of view.
So if I'm
so excited,
you're saying
yes.
Shay, that you cannot be trusted to control yourself.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's so obvious now that that his particular son is unable to control himself. Because how will I?
No,
I don't even look at.
No, we're talking about you now, because you said if you find a woman overly attractive, you're going to fire her because you don't.
No. I'm not going to fire her. In the first place, my mind will not even go towards you. In the first place.
So why can't we advocate for more and more men to be like that, to control themselves in a professional workspace?
And you know what? My wife will not even come to my office.
Why should one of the options on the table be to fire somebody that has not done anything at all requiring firing?
Already, if like the scenario of Pastor Adeboye, if that lady did not go, that lady, they will start having an affair.
All right, thanks for calling me, Shay. Hello.
Hi, Pastor.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Oh, good evening, sorry. So my opinion of this is I wouldn't tell my husband to sack this person.
Okay.
The only thing I'll do is to tell him to remember that he's married,
Okay.
which I don't even feel is necessary. I want to use a life scenario.
Okay.
I'm married, and I found that my husband was exchanging some kind of messages with somebody that could easily be misconstrued. Basically, he was flirting.
Okay.
And it's a worker, someone that works with him. And he was in a position where he could have this person transferred or moved out of the country or something. And I know this lady. I know people in HR that could help me move her around. But I didn't talk to her. I told my husband, see, I don't know this lady. I know you. So whatever you're doing finally graduates to you having a full-fledged affair with her. I'll pick up my children and I will leave. And I will take you for everything that you're worth. And it made my message very clear to him. So no, I wouldn't go after the lady. I don't know you. I didn't marry the lady. I married my husband.
Okay.
You have a problem, I will deal with my husband, not whoever the lady is. If he can't control himself and know that not every lady that wears skirts or every lady that smiles at him tries to start something with, then you have a problem. I will attack you and not the lady. Same me if I work in an office and somebody probably comes to me and starts smiling at me and, okay, do I expect them to start me? No, I will stand my ground and tell you, if anybody has to go, it's the person that can't control himself. So I don't know why people are saying they should start the lady, the man is a goat, the lady is yam. Does that make sense? Yam and goat.
Where do you stand with employing attractive domestic workers?
But why would I want to have someone that is not good looking around me? Then I go out and people are asking who is this Mbeke that is with me. Please look good around me. No, that's how I am. I just had a baby and I had issues getting a nanny because the lady they brought for me wasn't looking good. She was looking very unkempt. And people told me, oh, take her. Your husband won't look at her. She's very inconspicuous and all of that. I'm like, no, I want someone that I can go to an occasion with. I want someone, if they see her, they probably feel, oh, she's my sister or she's my cousin. Why would I want to have him that is not good looking around me because I feel my husband can't control his libido? No. If he can't control his libido, good for him. He should misbehave and we'll meet ourselves.
Thanks for calling me. Are you a woman? Are you a married woman? Do you think you can trust your husband to control himself? If not, why is he your husband? That's a question I'd like you to call in and answer me. Are you a married woman? Do you think you can trust your husband to control himself? And if you cannot trust him to control himself, why is he your husband? And then for the men who are calling me, can you control yourself? Seriously, you can be honest with me. I'm not going to judge you. Can you control yourself? Because when this conversation happens, we've heard somebody who has said, all this one are grammar. The smartest thing to do is to remove the goat from the yam. And I've had other married women who are not like my last caller who have said, Sandra, better to be safe than sorry. According to them, if the man in question is so excited about seeing his secretary, it's only a matter of time before that excitement develops into deeper feelings. Remember, she's his secretary. They see each other all the time. So there's a concern that these feelings, if they get deeper, may lead him to acting on them and jeopardizing his marriage. And then the people who disagree with those women are saying the same thing that I said last week. Why is it not easier for the man to simply control himself? Why can't the husband, like my last caller said, tell her husband, respect yourself in that office, respect me, and respect your marriage, and expect him to be a responsible adult who made a commitment and to honor that commitment he made? Shouldn't that be the solution? Shouldn't that be the only solution? Why is there a conversation on the table? Why is the option of firing somebody who has not done anything at all, be it male or female, why is that option on the table at all? Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
Thanks for calling me. What's your name?
Good evening. My name is Joseph from Majawa Estate.
Joseph.
Yes.
Can you be trusted to control yourself?
For the boy, I see it as he was angry with his son.
Okay.
But if he had punished the girl, what punishment did he give to his son? It was a wrong judgment that he gave. He should have punished his son. If anybody would have been needed to be taught to, it should be the son. The lady had nothing to do. The lady did not work there because of the son. She came there to work. She did not come there to meet the son. So for you to say, because your son come out to tell you this, and you say, look, sack the lady. Why didn't you sack your son also? The two of them should have gone. So for the other question you asked, I don't have any reason to sack my secretary. My wife has no right to ask me to sack my secretary. If she said that, I will explain things to her.
Oh, that's quite unfortunate. Ikechi James Eke says, Matthew 5:30, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. This is a comment on Facebook, by the way. Ikechi says, it is better for you to enter into life maimed rather than having two hands, or to go to hell, into the fire that will never be quenched. There's no two ways about it. All right, I agree with that. You know, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. I'm glad you wrote the Bible the way it was written, verbatim. If your own hand causes you to sin, cut it off, Abi. So now your hand, they make you sin. Or now your eye, they make you sin. Or now your, they make you sin. Cut it off. I'm glad you're not saying cut off the secretary. Good job, Ikechi. Atanda Kayode says, yes, the speaker knew the strengths of the man and the lady involved. I'm not sure I understand your message, but thank you for sending it. All right, let me take another call. Hello.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised I got through.
Yes, you did. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it got me thinking on both ways, because normally I'm flowing with what you're saying. Essentially, say I'm a married woman, 21 years married.
Okay.
And normally I would say, look, control yourself. And I still do. But then it got me thinking about once when my husband said to me that he was going to have a meal with someone. He's a doctor. He was working late.
Okay.
He's going to have a meal with a colleague, and she's a woman.
Okay.
And I said to him, just after work, and I trust him implicitly.
Okay.
But I said to him, well, when I thought about it, I'm not actually very comfortable with you being alone. If it was a group of you, no problem. With this lady, I don't even know who she is. And then I just sort of thought of the scripture, avoid all appearances of evil. And he said, okay, because I said that, he won't go and have a meal with the lady. But subsequently, he trusts me implicitly, and I work, and I'm sometimes alone with my boss, and we do trips and things. But he would never, and I find that really attractive about him, he would never even suggest that there was anything, even when I myself was thinking, is this really a comfortable scenario? The tables were turned. So now, listening to this program, I'm saying to myself, I should have let him have the meal, possibly with the lady. I'm not sure, because really what you're feeding into is that fear.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the normal way to live. One, it's not sustainable, because there's no way you're going to police the person you love, and it's not actually love; it's fear. Over indulging that sort of, because it's not normal. Let me just put it that way. The fact that people are defending the fact that it happens doesn't mean it's normal. The normal thing is to be able to deal with your emotions outside of what you've committed yourself to the person you love to be like. So that's really where I stand. I think normalizing something that is abnormal, just because people keep saying it happens, is feeding into fear. It's not sustainable. Society can't sustain itself like that. If we go around acting like we can't control ourselves. It's just not something you can. It's not love.
Thank you. Thank you for calling to share your thoughts. I really appreciate the personal story as well. Imagine, of course, that your boss had a pastor like Adeboye, and the boss said to him, Pastor Adeboye said to him, fire your assistant who you travel everywhere with, even though you are a competent assistant or competent person who works with him. And the only reason he has to fire you is because he is excited to see you when he gets to work. What do you think about that, counsel? Oh, that's sad. She's not on the phone anymore. Yes, but it's good when stories like this have faces, right? When people are sharing their actual personal experiences with these things. And then we begin to see that it's not some faceless person, that your actions are affecting. They're affecting real people, right? So, before you take the counsel of anybody, look at all the options available in front of you. There are so many options, from excitement to fire. There were so many other options in there between excitement and fire. especially when the assistant or the colleague or whatever is somebody who is competent at their job. And last week, a caller called in and said, okay, what if you don't have any power to fire this person? What are you going to do? Will you not control yourself? Imagine that, yes, you are the Oga Bata Bata, but you actually have no actual powers to fire this person. What do you do then? So when we talk on the glass ceiling about all the different barriers that women face in the workplace, at home, in their different organizations, in society in general, this is one of the examples. This is one of the reasons why by the time you get to the boards, you don't see a lot of women at the table. By the time you get to the top 50 CEOs, you'll probably find only 2 women, because women are having to deal with things like this. So I hope we all do better. Coming up, let me talk to the Iyaloja General of the Ojodu market and Ojodu LCDA as well. She's going to be talking to us about a particular Sunday market that is being put up for sale. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
Hard Facts will be right back.